Welcome to our podcast, It's About Payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III. Whether you're new to the payroll game or a seasoned veteran, we have something for you. All right, we're back again, folks. Welcome back to the show. How you doing, Walt?
I'm good, man. I'm good, sir. I'm excited. It's the end of the year. Christmas is almost here. You got any shopping going? Like, how's that going for
Oh,
you?
the shopping. Yes, I have to talk. Me and my wife have to talk about the list and things. And the year end is here with all its pressures and all that, man. Just going through it, man. Folks, I hope you're out there keeping it together in this year end. Don't get too crazy, folks. I'm glad I'm not in New York, man. New York gets so hectic during the holidays.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, the energy. If New York is already right a high energy place in the like holiday season hits, that goes like times 10.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so it's ridiculous. So it's fun too though, because it's filled with parties and filled with celebrations, and if you're Latino, of course, New Rican, like it's next level party celebrations.
Oh, gee.
you know it's like I miss it. We're planning on to go back and visiting for it the future, but I'm glad that my kind of peace, and even in
Mm.
that we struggle with time, and we're definitely all feeling it. I know I'm feeling the year end crunch and
Oh, yeah.
ev- everything that we just rush to do. I think about Gerard all the time because he's big on that year end prep. He just put out that post that was like, give each other grace, give your payroll folks grace. It made
Yeah,
me think
yeah.
about you giving folks grace. Yeah, man, I think we just need to give ourselves grace in this time, give everyone space and grace around us. I think be mindful of high emotions at this time of year. We tend to think about the loved ones, right, that we lost
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things like that. Yeah, man, folks, sorry for the tangent.
Oh, I think it's needed. I think it's needed. I think it's needed
Yeah.
because sometimes we lose focus on that
Yep.
and we lose sight of the kindness part of things, right? Everybody's working hard, everybody's busting their butt to get
Yep.
stuff done at the
Yep.
end of the year.
Yep.
And I saw a post on LinkedIn that said kindness is the most underrated skill in business.
Sure. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We know how to confront stuff. We know how
We know how to do everything
to
but be
flourish in,
kind.
yeah,
Yeah.
we know we can flourish in conflict and stuff like
Yep.
that, but
Yep.
sometimes we can lose sight of just being kind in business and stuff like that. So again, what Brian is saying, give yourself and others some grace,
Yep.
because I think everybody's feeling this year end crunch. Everybody's feeling pressure. So let's support each other in these remaining weeks of the year, and let's start the new year on a good note.
Word. Yes. And me and my oldest were just talking about building affirmations into our daily habits.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and
What's up?
no, we were just laughing at the the process, and we were talking about it as a family. And one of the affirmations was like, "I hope I don't cry today."
Oh my gosh, that'd be
Yeah,
something to have at work. I hope I don't
yeah,
cry today. Hmm.
exactly. Hey, it's an affirmation. You know what I mean? We
Yeah,
want to get through the day, get through the struggle. But
yeah, man.
yeah, folks. Again, we are going to talk a little bit about payroll today. It's a year end. We're just going to brush over the checklist.
Yeah.
They are all very detailed. There are a ton of payroll checklists available out there on the internet, and they're all good. And I
Yeah.
recommend that you go research them.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you use an HCM or whatever system you use, especially that a payroll system, more they have trainings, they have year-end dashboards that you can go view and learn about, and so it'll help you along your year-end checklist as well.
yep, exactly right.
Speaking of year end, I know you heard about this that happened at our job. We were trying to be diligent with stuff, and a bunch of emails got sent out and everything. So yeah, that was fun times.
Yeah, yep. Year end activity.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh
And
God.
no good deed goes unpunished.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I had an HR leader that taught me that used to say that all the time, and it was
Hmm.
so true. And that became like our ringing theme because in HR and in payroll, we always want to be very helpful,
Yeah.
and a good HR and payroll professional likes being helpful.
Absolutely.
It's right. It's This is a job for those people who like helping, and I love people who really are honest about it. I
Yeah.
worked with someone in recent years. I don't know if she'll ever hear this, Susanna, but she was she was very honest about it. She was like, I love helping people. But you had some good points. Let's cover these year-end points. Again, folks, this is just a kind of little bonus episode because it's year-end. Wanted to just remind, this is the reminder. This is the
Mhm.
reminder episode, right? It's going to come out today, 12/11. Later today is 12th week of 12/12. Hey, December. It's year-end time, folks. Go look at your year-end checklist. If you are in
Yes.
HR or payroll or accounting, or if you deal with numbers in any type of way or
Yes,
whatever,
yes.
most jobs have some year-end calendar, year-end things that have to happen.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, and definitely as a payroll HR professional, you have things that you need to make sure are happening. And some of those things you have here, Walt, for us, one of them being tax balancing.
Mm.
And that is important. You got to make sure that basically all your taxes are being filed.
Yes.
And it's a much bigger conversation depending on how your system works. If you're in-house,
Yep.
this is something that is very real to you and you're dealing with.
Yes. Yep.
If you have vendors though, and if you outsource, it could be something that you're disconnected from that
Mhm.
you really have to make sure is getting done, because at the end of the day, the client is responsible.
Yes.
I know some companies out there take responsibility, so you have to understand where that falls for you.
Yes.
And
Great
right,
point.
are you an employer that where your responsibility lies with taxes? Most situations, the client is still responsible. So please be
Gotcha.
sure things are happening. What else do you got out there for us?
I have something with negative deductions, right? So I like
Oof.
this may impact earnings, taxes at the end of the year, or you're gonna end up finding yourself doing a lot of manual check adjustments, those prior quarter adjustments at the end of the year, especially if you use a certain code. So let's say you want to credit back somebody benefits, or you want to credit somebody back a deduction or whatever, and you use a code that's miscellaneous, like those miscellaneous code.
Oh no, don't use that code though.
Yes, finance would really strongly would prefer you
Yes,
not
no,
to
don't
use that code.
don't use
Uh,
other, don't use
yes,
miscellaneous,
because you'll
don't
find
use
yourself,
unknown.
yes, and don't use the improper code to credit something back.
Oh
If
yeah.
I want to give you back medical something, I'm not gonna sit there and use a stale date check code for that. So I want to make sure I use the proper code, because sometimes when you try to go and get the W-2s produced, it could be a holdup for this person, because that is set up and the system would flag it and say, oh, this person has a negative deduction for the year for this. And if it's one of those that fall under the cafeteria
Yep.
125 plan, like you can find yourself like having to do unnecessary adjustments because you didn't do that. So
That's such a great call out, man. Yeah. I was trying to keep it light, but Walt went straight for the jugular with the negative deductions and the impact on quarter. And he's absolutely, that's one of the checks that a good system, either your reconciliation or your system will show you at the end, is that you have some outstanding negative deductions. And think about it. Basically, what it says is there's no balance in this bucket, and now you're trying to take away from it. You've put nothing in this bucket all year long, and now
yes,
you're trying to take something out of it. So the balance, the
yes,
bucket is zero. What are you taking out of it? So that's a telltale sign. Oh wait, then it went into a different bucket. And if you
yes,
think
yes,
about
yes.
accounting, a very simplistic way to think about accounting is you're just putting things in different buckets, right? It's hey, you're tallying things up on how many times you did something or whatever. So the system is saying to you at the end of the year, you have an outstanding balance, a negative balance in this category, and it means that or it could mean you're taking more from it than is in it. If you only put five
Uh-huh.
dollars in, right? If you only put $5 in, and you're
Mhm.
trying to do a $10 transaction, then it's not gonna. It's right. It's gonna give you that error.
I have a
So
question. I have a
yeah.
question for you, and I know this is the last question, and I don't want to get too deep into it, like you said, and then we'll continue on. But so I've run into situations where a person had medical benefits and they needed, and W-2s had already come out, and they realized that their audit, oh, this person never elected this, and they finally just said something, and now the company wants us to go back and credit them for last year for their medical deductions. How
Oh Lord,
how would I handle that as a payroll professional?
you're on a roll, sir.
Oh, sorry.
That I think is a conversation you have to now pull in your benefits folks, your company, because there are impact and there's impact to all of that. So we're talking about prior year adjustment.
Okay, okay,
Now we're
okay.
talking about a prior year and a prior quarter adjustment. that's gonna, even though it's legitimate and it's all good, it's gonna create a lot of paperwork, because now you have to tell a few teams we're doing this, but it doesn't actually undo what happened. All we're
Okay.
doing is giving the money back because the coverage was still fine. We don't need to go back to the medical people and say, oh, we want the credit back for November and October, whatever, for this thing.
Hmm.
The medical vendors don't have to give us the credit back. The company is choosing to do that refund and make that exception. Because if you catch
Hmm.
these exceptions, if you have these employees that are lingering and you know something's going to be done, you might want to do it within the year. Try to get the entries in now. You want to prep your tax teams that, oh, this is going to be a prior year adjustment that's going to come down the road. Those things take time to turn around. Are you going to need a
Yeah.
W-2C? That's where this question started. What was the W-2? Yep,
Mhm.
these little things that we thought were going to be small are not. They will wreak havoc. And
Yeah.
you, this is what preparation is about. This is what doing half year checks. So
Hmm.
meaning if you do a half year check in the summer, take your year to date numbers and recalculate the totals.
Nice.
And yeah, and what's your taxable wages? What's your pre-tax? So again, folks, right? Your system is doing some of the calculations for you, but as a good payroll professional, you should know how to do those calculations.
Okay.
You should be able to get balances and take a gross and calculate what that box 1, 3, and 5 are going to look like.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay. You should
Hmm.
payroll. Let's call that out to payroll professionals. As
Hmm.
a payroll professional, you should be able to calculate box 1, 3, and 5 by hand or with the help of Excel. And that's what I mean by hand, not look at payroll system numbers are and just say, yes, this is truth.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right? You should be able to calculate those numbers as a payroll pro. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
the way. And if you do that in July, you're ahead of the game. You can start looking at your population. You can start sampling complex scenarios to make sure the calculations are working right and what they should look like. Some of the bigger systems in November or toward year end will start giving you samples of what the W-2 numbers are,
Uh-huh.
and you can recalculate that as well, because they'll say, okay, here's a sample up until this date. So it has X amount of, it tells you what's in those numbers so that
Got
you can check against it. And then beyond the numbers, if we're trying to wrap this up, because what we thought was a short call is not a short call,
it.
is indicative data. Love the word indicative. It
Mhm.
really just means your employees' demographic information, your employees' personal information. But as payroll pros and HR pros, indicative data is a term that you should be familiar with, because it refers to employee data of record.
Gotcha.
That when they say that, when you hear indicative data, we are now talking PPI, we're talking legalities, we're talking compliance. Like,
Mhm.
your data has to be, that is data that they're gonna work everything off of. And if it's wrong, then it's wrong.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That, and then as HR pros and payroll pros come year end, 75 emails, we
Mhm.
will let you know that you need to update this information, and you should be, and as an employee, you should be updating the information. I think that we really don't understand as employees that it's our information. We should own it
Yep.
and take a lot more ownership in where your information is in the world,
Yep.
and if it's updated or not. It is
Yeah.
your responsibility.
Absolutely. Like, I think it's something that we said earlier in one of our
Yeah.
first episodes.
Yeah.
It's like about branding, right? If you look at yourself as your own brand as an employee,
Yes.
you will want to protect your brand, right?
Yep.
So that by doing that, you protect your data, you protect your information, you'll make sure that it's up to date, you'll look at your pay stub and
Yep.
everything like that. So protect your brand.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then that kind of just wraps it up for year end in
Mm.
a general. Again, folks, we're not going to go into the checklist because there are many good checklists out there.
Yeah.
Okay, go, if you don't know, go research. When year end comes, like, I just go find those good checklists and read them and just go through it, and okay, what am I doing internally to this? If you have to provide one to your boss, then you need to rehash them, right? take from all the checklists what you need, what is relevant at your organization, because the checklist may give you something that's not relevant to you.
Uh-huh.
One of them mentioned group term life insurance. Not
Uh-huh.
everybody does group term life insurance.
Good point.
But if you do, there is a calculation that is end processing. Okay. And that's actually one of the tricky ones, that if it happens on a check by payroll, it added on to the taxable wages. But if you didn't know what to do with that calc, you weren't going to get to the net properly.
Yeah, I've seen situations like that too, man, with the
Yeah.
life. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So again, if you're responsible for preparing this checklist for your organization and you don't have one, if you're a payroll pro and you're like, oh my God, I don't have a checklist,
Yes.
go create one. The internet will give you everything you need.
Yes.
You pull from it what you need and you create one that is relevant for your organization.
Yes. It's better to be prepared ahead of time. So be proactive instead
Be
of reactive.
proactive. But yeah. And honestly, we're super late on year-end activity because you should have been doing this from like September.
Yep.
So I'm serious.
Yeah.
We'll get better. Sorry, guys. We'll get better at reminding you. I would imagine we've said it a few times in past episodes, but you know what? We'll put out our own year-end checklist.
There you go.
So look out for that next year. Yeah, so we're super late in the game, but you still have time. You need to do some sample testing, pull some W-2s. I usually pull the very important people at your organization. You know what I mean? Your CEO, CFO, then some other random sampling throughout the populations of your employees. And if you can think of these that have complex, if you do GTL, who has it? If you do 401k, throw a 401k person in there. Throw any deferred compensation. We used to do non-qualified deferred comp somewhere. Those are on these checklists as well. Don't get too scared about these terms. If you don't recognize the term, or if your HR people don't recognize the terms, you don't do it. Like if you did do these things, you would know the terms. So don't get, oh my God, what is this? Because they were overwhelmed. No, that's how it was for me, man. I would read these checklists like right as a newbie, and I'm like, what in the world is this? I don't know what this means. I would be worried, like, but guess what? It means that you don't do it. There are a lot of things that, or not every organization does the same thing and has the same setup and benefits and insurances and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you're in a state with unions operate so much differently, so don't bug out. If you don't are not familiar with the term, you probably don't do that stuff.
Great nuggets there, man. That's a great points.
What else?
We touched on everything we've had written down for the
Yeah.
year-end checklist.
Yeah.
Just wanted to end the show. I saw this post on LinkedIn about this payroll company in, I believe, San Antonio, that some people were arrested. 6 people were arrested for a payroll fraud scheme.
What?
Over $1 million. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So basically what the story said is that the payroll professional was overpaying people on purpose and was getting a kickback from those people for a period of time. And so that totaled over $1 million.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm reading through it now, the link that you sent. That's nuts, man.
Do you feel like we're starting to see more of that?
No, I think that.
Are people just getting caught now?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. People are getting caught. Oh, you said it. People are getting caught now because the technology and it is so much more, right? It's so advanced, and not for nothing, because payroll is more of a conversation now.
Yes,
People,
absolutely.
folks counted payroll, and when I first started my career, it was like unspoken. And what? That's a career? What do you mean? I thought you just cut checks.
Yeah.
You don't realize the impact that payroll has, and so appropriately so. We're going to talk in season 4. It's exactly how we're going to cover payroll from the company perspective, right? And we realize today one of the episodes that we need to do is payroll cost. What does it cost to have to run payroll?
Yes.
And there is a number there, right? It's not just their earnings. I think that is also part of it, is that people are like, wait, what do you mean you can fraud in payroll? Like a lot of business owners, right? You blindly just hire somebody to do payroll, and you don't realize the damage that you've just given this person to your funds, and they can steal from you now.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you don't pay attention to that person, boom, $1.4 million this people freaking stole from this company.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You don't think about it, and especially if you're not a savvy business person and
Hmm.
your main thing was doing some other thing that you opened, like the talent is usually very different than the talent never understands payroll as a business function. So it's such an easy way to get exposed. So I think it's that. I think it's a combination of the technology, the fact that people are like, wait, are we getting forwarded? Are we getting payroll fraud? Hey, let's do an audit. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And let's do an audits are probably coming up more now because it's
Hmm.
right, it's being spoken about. And um, so I think it's just that. It's just payroll evolving and technology evolving. Payroll being more
Yep.
about a serious part of the conversation, and technology to govern it is really and evolving very
Yeah.
rapidly.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I love
Mhm.
it's like we get excited about these payroll
Yeah.
stories
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
relevant,
Yeah. It is,
you
it is
know.
relevant, and it makes you wonder, like, what if you think about like in the past when there was more of a paper trail, more and less digital, like
Mm.
how much money have people actually
Oh,
gotten away with?
absolutely. Over the year, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. But and that's what and to tie this back, folks, as a good payroll professional, you should be reporting the exposure and the possible exposure to your company.
Yes. You should point
Okay.
out.
You should point
Yes.
out the exposure. Okay. And look, unfortunately, companies are not always going to be able to react and address those items
Yep.
as quickly as you think they should, because
Yep.
they may not see the importance of it as
Yep.
you do and as we do as payroll professionals. You please document it, make
Yep.
sure you share it with the right people. And because there will come a day where one of those items may come up and
Yep.
they're going to be like, oh my gosh, Billy in accounting has been telling, Billy in payroll, Billy in HR has been telling us this for freaking 2 years now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Crap, that's what he meant. Ah,
Yep. Yep.
got to keep that Billy around. You valid
Mm.
becomes validating because it's, oh wow, they do know what they're talking about. And a good organization is going to be like, dang man, sorry we couldn't get this to this earlier. Now it is wreaking it,
It's rearing his
causing
head now.
it's
Yep.
rearing its ugly head now. We got
Yeah.
to address it, and you said it.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. In a good place, that is what
Mm.
will happen. But regardless of what will happen, as a payroll professional, we need to be flagging those exposures.
Yep.
You know
One
what
of
I
the most
mean?
one of the most common ones is I've seen is ghost employees.
Oh, heck yeah.
You
Heck
know.
yeah. And that's why the separation of duties is necessary. And
Yes.
if not, in a small organization, checks and balances are necessary.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? If you're only a
Yep.
two, three people organization, and that's another thing too. People feel like it's just me, or it's just me and my secretary, or it's just me and this small organization. Nothing's happening. That's when it will
Yep.
happen, because guess what? $100 here, $10 there, $100 there. That all builds up. You know,
Yep.
and somebody who's struggling, that $120 or that little $20 or $100 is a lot.
Yeah. I've seen a situation where I think it was in the military or right after the military. Someone was taking pennies from people. So,
Wow.
so they this was before like you would get notifications from your system saying, "Hey, you just changed your direct deposit." So this was before all that started to happen, right?
Wait a minute. You mean taking pennies digitally, like through direct deposit? And
Yes,
all? Are you
yes.
kidding me?
So yes, they like it's stupid, right? Because your account information is going to show, and they saw the same account like littered throughout their system.
My
So this
gosh.
person was like taking pennies from like thousands of people. So every check you're getting like 50 or $100 because they were also the person who ran all the reports.
Ah,
So like
they didn't think anybody would see that.
so yeah, they come to me for reporting, so I can just clean it up and send it out and get rid of all this. Do a quick VLOOKUP filter and whatever, and just take the stuff out.
And
Done.
then, oh my gosh.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Man.
Someone said that to me, and we'll end it here, man. Someone said if you can't trust the person that is doing payroll for you, they don't need to work for you.
No, definitely not. Yo, that's a great ending point, folks. I hope we were helpful and relevant in
Yeah.
this episode. Again, year end. It's really the biggest takeaway is if you haven't gone over a year end checklist at this point, please go find one for yourself in payroll or
Do
in
it
HR.
now.
Do
Do
it
it
right
now.
now. Do it
Yes.
now. Go start Google. Just do it now. And that's it. I hope you guys have a great holiday season.
Yeah.
We are going to come back with, I think we're going to do a year in review, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All
So
right.
we're,
That'll
yep.
be fun. And then as we ramp up to season 4, I guess it probably makes sense that season 4 is more toward the new year and
Yeah.
just being considerate too. It's the
It's
holidays
the
and
holidays. Yeah. People are
people
worried
are
about
busy.
shopping
People
and
were, ain't nobody think about
Mhm.
no payroll podcast.
No.
But we're still going to deliver and we're still going to put out a great product for y'all. I'm really excited about season 4 because
Yeah.
we're really going to approach it differently. And just, again, the preparation has got me excited. And I really want to deliver a good product for you guys.
Yeah.
And as we continue to try to be helpful and relevant.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
All right.
Peace, man.
Peace. Thank you for listening to today's episode of our podcast. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. And we hope that the information that was shared with you will impact you as a payroll professional. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.